Hey, I'm Austin here, and Halloween's starting to approach, which only means one thing. It's time to print all the spooky 3D printables. Since it's just the beginning of October, I wanted to share a lot of the things that I'm going to be printing this year and printed last year that I think you might want to print. Last year I found out about the trend of people 3D printing gifts to give out on Halloween to trick-or-treaters. And sadly I found out about it a little too late, so I wasn't able to participate. But it turns out kids love receiving not just candy, but 3D printable toys, along with a bunch of other fun Halloween decorations. So with that, I want to cover a few I printed last year and what I'm printing this year. When I deep dive into each of these, I'll make sure to put the amount of filament and how long it took to print each one. Also, all the file links will be listed in the description below, so feel free to check those out and the creators of these beautiful files. So starting off, we have this ghost-shaped Halloween candy bowl. You can easily scale this up to any size you want, but it was just nice to have out at Halloween parties with little treats to pull from, or you can throw a tea candle in it and it makes a great just Halloween decor to have on the shelf. Last year when we threw our Halloween party, I also wanted to have a little bit of fun games and activities, which brings us to this little balancing game I found. Honestly, one of my favorite things with this design was the housing they built with it. It just assembles together easily. You get all these tiny little ghosts and pumpkins, and players take turns trying to balance the pieces out. Honestly, this ended up being a much larger hit than I expected, and I highly recommend printing this. So it's easy to store, whether it be for waiting until next year's Halloween or on a board game shelf. Last year, I also printed some party gifts to give friends, and those were these cute little ghost magnets. You can also make them as a keychain, and they come in all sorts of designs. And with a multicolor printer, they're super easy to knock out while still being quick to print because you're only printing the top layer as multicolor. And they're also not very thick to begin with. This model had pre-designed holes for magnets if you wanted to add it in to be a magnet, but I've also seen them made with the top loop so you can use it as a keychain. I could also see handing these out to kids for Halloween, but I think I found some better prints we'll get to in just a moment for that. And last year I was running out of white filament from printing all these things, so I also made sure to print some ghosts in different colors. I did the common green, glow in the dark, and what I had left over from last year was gold as well. And these are nice because you can put a little tea candle underneath them and the face all lights up. Again, just a subtle, quick little easy 3D print that you could scale up to a larger size that makes for some nice home decor. Speaking of home decor, this is a new print I'm trying out. This here is a nice large ghost cutout that you can use as basically a stencil for light to project a ghost onto a wall with light. It doesn't take a ton of filament. It's pretty quick and easy to print as it's just two simple thin pieces that connect together. My print came out a little rough, but that's more on my part as I needed to clean my printer bed. But what's nice is, again, with its intended use, it didn't have to be a perfect print, as it's basically just being used as a stencil to project a light onto a wall. And now I want to bring up an option that's an alternative to handing out candy, as I've found out kids love getting little 3D printed trinkets, and I've gone through a few to try out what might be the quickest, easiest to print, the least amount of filament, that you can just pump a lot out in time for Halloween, because it is quickly approaching. So we'll start with this collapsible little pumpkin. It breaks down into a nice little pumpkin form factor, and the file comes with a few different variations. I don't know what it is with these prints that have movable parts, even if it's something as simple as just being collapsible, but kids love it. I mean, I gave these to my niece and nephew, and they were constantly joking about how it's a pumpkin, or if you collapse it the other way, it becomes a carrot. It's also a multicolor print, but you could print it in a single color, which can be helpful, because a couple of these other prints I have here were all printed with multicolor. I wanted to test them out, but unless you're printing off a full build plate, you do have a lot of 3D printed waste. Next up, we have a little ghost, Slinky. This was probably one of my favorites, as it's just really fun to play around with. As you see the shape of this ghost just warp and extend, you can twist it, and it's just kind of fun to play around with. Super easy to print. Just keep in mind that you're gonna have to manually pull these apart, each layer, or when you hand it off, it'll be a solid piece. Next up is a nice little cute pumpkin with some flexible legs. It could be a nice little bookend, it could sit on someone's desk. This one is multicolor, But there's also the option to print each colored part separate and you can glue them together. That said, if I'm gonna print some of these for Halloween to hand out the random trick-or-treaters, I'm probably just gonna do a single color print because I don't wanna risk parts coming off from glue. And then lastly, we have 2 more designs from a designer I found on Maker World. And I'm gonna start with the little skeleton cat. Probably one of the cooler designs. This little flexible skeleton cat is just a nice alternative to flexible dragons and really fits the festive theme of the year. It is multicolored though, and it does use a lot of filament changes, as you can see along the side here, up the side and on top. So if you don't want to do multicolored print and you want something that is still fun and flexible, I highly recommend their other design, which is these 3D printed skulls with like a spine that's completely flexible. I find that this file actually has like kind of more mobility to play with, including the jaw, and it uses a lot less filament, and I will probably be printing the most of these to hand out the trick-or-treaters. One thing to keep in mind though is that the skull is made of 2 parts. In fact, as you can see here, it uses a separate printed piece that can be done on the same build plate for the skull that has to be manually assembled. It's not that hard, but if you're gonna print a ton of these, that will take a little bit of time. So these were a ton of my favorite 3D prints from last year and this year that I'm printing out. But what are you printing out? Leave in the comments below what you print out for Halloween, whether it be to hand out the trick-or-treaters or just decor or gifts to give out. I love knowing what other people are 3D printing. It's one of the things I really love about this hobby is just being able to create nice, fun little gifts to hand out. So I always am looking for other options. So I hope you all have a happy Halloween, and until next time, take care.